The transport shuttle shook hard as it entered the atmosphere, held tight to her seat belt and looked out the small window. Below her, she could see a massive station floating in the darkness of space. It was bigger than any city she had ever seen on Earth. Lights blinked across its surface like stars fallen from the sky. This was the Galactic Military Academy, the most famous training ground in the known universe, and she was about to become its first human student. The shuttle landed with a heavy thud. The door slid open and cold air rushed inside, grabbed her single bag and stepped out onto the steel platform. Her boots made a soft sound against the metal floor. Around her, other cadets were also arriving, but they were nothing like her. Some had scales covering their bodies. Others had 4 arms or 6 legs or wings folded against their backs. A few had no faces at all, just smooth surfaces with glowing spots where eyes should be. They all stopped and stared at her, felt their eyes on her skin. She was small. She was soft. She had no claws, no armor, no natural weapons of any kind. To them, she must have looked like a child lost in a place meant for warriors. A whisper spread through the crowd. She heard words in languages she did not understand, but she knew what they meant. Weak, fragile, prey. Lifted her chin and walked forward. She had not come across the galaxy to be afraid. She had not survived everything she survived just to run away now. A tall officer stood at the end of the platform. His skin was rough like stone. He had 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows across his face. Each eye moved on its own, looking at different things at the same time. When all 6 eyes focused on, she felt the weight of his attention like a hand pressing on her chest. "Human," he said, his voice was deep and cold. "I am Commander Tao. You will follow the rules of this academy. You will train. You will fight. If you cannot keep up, you will be sent home. There will be no special treatment for you." "I do not want special treatment," replied. Her voice was calm and steady. Commander Tao studied her for a long moment. Then he looked down at a device in his hand. "You are assigned to Dormitory 9. Report there immediately." Nodded and walked past him. She could feel the other cadets watching her. Some laughed quietly. Others shook their heads. None of them believed she would last a week. Dormitory 9 was at the far edge of the academy. The halls leading to it were darker and colder than the rest. The lights flickered. The walls had cracks. When finally found her room, she understood why they had put her here. This was where they sent the cadets nobody expected to succeed. Her roommate was already inside. She was a creature, small and thin, with large eyes and 2 long antennae on her head. Her body was covered in a soft brown shell, and she moved with quick, nervous energy. When she saw, she made a clicking sound. "You are the human," she said. Her voice was high and soft. "My name is Lyra." "I am." Lyra's antennae twitched. "They put you here because they think you are weak. They put me here because my species is not built for combat. We are the unwanted ones." Set her bag on the empty bed. The mattress was thin and the blanket was rough. It was not comfortable, but she had slept on worse. "Then we will prove them wrong together." Lyra made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I like your spirit, human, but you do not understand this place yet. The academy has rules, yes, but there are other rules too. Rules that no one writes down. Rules that the strong make and the weak follow." "What kind of rules?" Lyra moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There is a group called the Iron Circle. They are the best fighters in the academy. Their leader is unnamed. He has never lost a fight. Not once. The Iron Circle decides who gets respect and who gets pain. If they decide to target you, no one will help you. Everyone is too afraid." Listened carefully. This was not new to her. She had seen power like this before back on Earth. "Have they targeted you?" she asked. Lyra's eyes looked down at the floor. "Sometimes they take my food. They push me in the halls, small things. They do not think I am worth real attention." She paused. "But you are different. You are the first human. They will want to make an example of you." Walked to the window and looked out. 2 moons hung in the black sky, glowing pale and cold. She thought about her home. She thought about the soul underground wars when the cities had burned and the sky had turned to ash. She thought about her brother. Had been older and stronger. He had protected her when alien raiders came to their neighborhood. He had fought with nothing but a metal pipe while she hid in the rubble. She had watched through a crack in the wall as they killed him. She had seen him fall. She had seen the light leave his eyes. After that, she had stopped hiding. She had learned to fight. She had trained every day, pushing her body until it broke and then pushing more. When the recruitment shuttle came looking for soldiers willing to join the galactic forces, she was the first to volunteer. The officers had laughed at her. They said humans were too weak for real combat, but she had passed every test they gave her. She had earned her place. Now she was here, and she would not waste this chance. "Lyra," she said without turning from the window. "Yes." "Tomorrow, training begins. I am going to work harder than anyone else. I am going to become stronger, and when the iron circle comes for me," she finally turned and looked at her roommate, "I will be ready." Lyra's antennae trembled. "You are either very brave or very foolish." "Maybe both." The next morning woke before the lights turned on. She stretched her muscles and did the exercises had taught her long ago. When the alarm finally rang and other cadets started moving, she was already dressed and waiting. The training hall was enormous. Hundreds of cadets filled the space, all wearing the uniform of the academy. Instructors stood at the front, barking orders in voices that echoed off the high ceiling, found her place and began to work. The first drill was simple, running, but the track was long and the gravity was heavy. Many cadets fell behind after the first few laps, kept going. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she had felt worse pain than this. She had run through burning streets while buildings collapsed around her. This was nothing. By the end of the drill, she was one of the few still standing strong. Some of the instructors noticed. Some of the cadets noticed too. In the corner of the hall, a massive figure watched her. He was standing almost 3 meters tall. His skin was dark, covered in thick plates like armor. He had 4 arms, each one bigger than his entire body. His eyes were small and red, burning with a cold fire. This was the leader of the Iron Circle, the undefeated champion of the academy. He watched the human run. He watched her refuse to fall. And for the first time in a very long time, he felt something that might have been curiosity. Or maybe it was anger. Either way, he decided then that this human needed to learn her place, and he would be the one to teach her. 3 weeks passed at the Galactic Military Academy. 3 weeks of pain, sweat, and silent determination. Woke every morning before the lights and trained until her body could barely move. She ran longer than anyone else. She lifted heavier weights. She studied combat techniques late into the night while other cadets slept. The instructors pushed her hard. They expected her to fail. They gave her the most difficult tasks, the heaviest loads, the longest runs. But every time they thought she would break, she stood back up. Every time they waited for her to quit, she kept going. Slowly, her scores began to climb. In the tactical combat simulations, she started winning. Not because she was the strongest. She was still the smallest fighter in every match, but she was smart. She watched her opponents carefully. She learned how they moved, where they were slow, where they left openings. Then she attacked those weak points with speed and precision. One day she faced in the simulation arena. There was twice her size, with thick scales covering his body like natural armor. His claws were long and sharp. Everyone watching expected an easy victory for him. The match began. The charged forward, swinging his heavy arms like clubs, did not try to block. She moved. She ducked under his first swing, stepped around his second, and struck him hard in the knee joint where his scales were thin. The stumbled. Before he could recover, she hit him again in the same spot. Then again. He fell to one knee, and she swept his other leg out from under him. When he crashed to the ground, she was already behind him, her arm locked around his throat. The instructor called the match, had won. Silence filled the arena. Then whispers began. The human had defeated her. It seemed impossible, but they had all seen it happen. For the first time, cadets looked at with something other than pity. Some looked confused. Others looked impressed. A few looked afraid. But in the shadows at the edge of the arena, watched with cold red eyes. His 4 massive hands curled into fists. The human was becoming a problem. That evening walked back to Dormitory 9 alone. The halls were quiet and dark. Most cadets were in the dining hall or in their rooms. She liked the silence. It gave her time to think, to plan, to prepare for the next day. She turned a corner and stopped. 7 figures blocked the hallway ahead. They stood in a line, each one bigger and stronger than the last. She recognized them. They were members of the Iron Circle, the elite fighters who ruled the academy through fear. At the front stood himself, his massive body filling the corridor like a wall of muscle and armor. Did not run, she did not show fear, she simply stopped and waited. Stepped forward. The floor shook slightly under his weight. His 4 arms hung at his sides, each one capable of crushing steel. His red eyes burned in the dim light. "Human," he said. His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. "You have been busy." "I have been training," replied calmly. "You have been showing off." Took another step closer. "You beat it today. Everyone is talking about it. They are starting to think that maybe humans are not as weak as we believed. Maybe we are not." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was not a nice sound. "You are a guest in this academy, a curiosity, nothing more. Your species has no place among real warriors. Today, I will remind everyone of that truth." The 7 enforcers spread out, surrounding. She glanced at each one. A with blades built into his arms. A even bigger than the one she had defeated. A winged creature called a with talons sharp as knives. 4 others, each from different species, each built for violence. 8 against 1. The odds were impossible. Set down her water container slowly. She rolled her shoulders and stretched her neck. Her heart beat steady and calm. She had faced worse odds on Earth. She had survived the underground wars. She had walked through fire and ash while everything around her burned. Behind a pillar at the far end of the hallway, something moved. Caught a glimpse of large eyes and trembling antennae. Lyra. Her roommate had followed her and was now watching from hiding, too afraid to help but too loyal to leave. Cracked his 4 massive knuckles. The sound echoed through the corridor like breaking bones. "No one will save you, human. No instructor will come. No alarm will sound. In this hallway the only law is strength, and you have none." Then she looked at each of his enforcers one by one. She studied their stances, their positions, their weapons. She noted the confident smirks on their faces. They thought this would be easy. They thought she would beg or cry or try to run. They were wrong. "Before we begin," said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade, "I have a question." Tilted his massive head, he seemed amused. "A question. The prey wishes to speak before she is eaten." "It is a simple question." Straightened her spine and planted her feet firmly on the floor. She looked directly into his burning red eyes without flinching. "I need to know something before this starts." "Then ask, little human. It will be your last words." Tilted her head slightly. A small smile appeared on her lips. It was not a smile of happiness. It was the smile of someone who had already calculated every outcome and found one path to victory. "Do you all want this fight?" she asked. The question hung in the air. For a moment no one moved, stared at her, his eyes narrowing. The enforcers exchanged glances, confused by her calm. Then laughed. It was a loud, harsh sound that filled the corridor. "Do we want this fight? Look around you, human. There are 8 of us and 1 of you. You cannot even run. You cannot even hide. What kind of foolish question is that?" Did not laugh. Her eyes remained steady, fixed on them with an intensity that made his laughter slowly die. "It is not a foolish question," she said quietly. "It is a warning." She shifted her stance. It was subtle, almost invisible, but noticed. His instincts, sharpened by years of combat, suddenly screamed at him. Something was wrong. Something in the way she stood, the way she breathed, the way her eyes moved across his fighters like a predator counting her kills before the hunt began. I asked because I want to be sure, continued. I want to know that every one of you chose this, that every one of you decided to come here tonight to block my path, to threaten me with violence. She paused, because what happens next? I want you all to remember that you asked for it. The with blade arm snarled, enough talk, let us end this. He lunged forward, his arm blade slicing through the air towards throat. She was already moving. That was fast. His blade arms cut through the air with deadly speed, aiming straight for neck. Any normal target would have been dead before they could blink. But was not normal. She dropped low, bending her knees and falling beneath the slashing blades. As she went down, she kicked out hard, sweeping her leg across his feet. His balance broke. Before he could recover, she drove her elbow upward into the soft joint where his throat met his armor. There was a cracking sound. They made a choking noise and collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. Silence, complete silence. 1 second, that was all it had taken. 1 second and the first enforcer was down. Then chaos broke loose. The other 6 attackers rushed forward at once. They came from all sides, thinking their numbers would overwhelm her. They were wrong. Did not stand still and wait for them. She moved. She flowed like water, shifting between them, never staying in one place long enough for anyone to land a solid hit. Her style was different from anything they had seen in the academy. It was not the heavy, powerful combat of the larger species. It was something else entirely, something human. The big swung his massive fist at her head. She tilted her body sideways, letting the fist pass inches from her face. As his arm went past, she grabbed his wrist and pulled hard, using his own weight against him. At the same time, she kicked the back of his knee. The stumbled forward off balance, let go and spun, driving her heel into his lower spine. He crashed face first into the wall and did not get up. 2 down, 5 left. A creature with 4 legs and a body like a tank charged at her, ran toward him instead of away. Just before impact, she jumped, planting one foot on his shoulder and launching herself over his back. As she flew through the air, she grabbed his head and twisted, using her momentum to spin him around. He lost his footing and crashed into another enforcer who was trying to attack from behind. Both of them went down in a tangle of limbs. Landed lightly on her feet. She was breathing hard now, but her eyes were calm and focused. Every movement she made was deliberate. Every strike was aimed at weak points that the aliens did not even know they had. She had studied anatomy. She had learned where every species kept their nerve clusters, their breathing organs, their balance centers. She knew how to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. The winged screamed and dove at her from above, talons extended like knives. At the last moment, the missed her completely and slammed directly into his chest. The stumbled backward, caught off guard. The fell to the ground, stunned by the impact. 4 down, 3 left, not counting. The remaining enforcers hesitated. They looked at their fallen companions, then looked at the small human standing in the middle of the corridor. She was barely breathing hard. She had not taken a single serious hit. Their confidence was crumbling. "Attack together," one of them shouted. "She cannot fight all of us at once." They rushed her again. This time they tried to coordinate. One grabbed for her arm while another went for her legs. The third aimed a punch at her head. Grabbed the arm reaching for her and pulled the attacker in front of her like a shield. The punch meant for her head hit her shield instead. As the 2 enforcers stumbled into each other, she kicked out hard, catching the third one in the stomach. He doubled over and she brought her knee up into his face. Blood sprayed from his nose. He dropped. 5 down. She twisted the arm of the one she was still holding and forced him to his knees. A quick strike to the back of his neck and he went limp. She let him fall. 6 down. The last enforcer, A tall creature with glowing eyes looked at the destruction around him. His courage broke completely. He turned and ran, disappearing around a corner. His footsteps echoed through the corridor, growing fainter until they were gone. Stood alone in the middle of the hallway. 6 of the Iron Circle's best fighters lay groaning on the ground around her. The fight had lasted less than 90 seconds. Only remained standing. They stared at her. His red eyes were wide. In 12 cycles at the academy, he had never seen anything like this. He had faced the strongest warriors from dozens of species. He had crushed them all. But this human, this small, soft creature from a backwater planet, she had taken apart his enforcers like they were nothing. "What?" His voice came out rough and quiet. "What are you?" Wiped blood from her lip. It was her only injury, a small cut from when someone's armor had grazed her face. She looked at the blood on her fingers, then looked up at. "I am human," she said simply. "That is impossible. Humans are weak. Humans are prey. Everyone knows this." Shook her head slowly. "Everyone knows what we showed them. For thousands of years my species fought each other. We had wars that lasted generations. We killed millions of our own kind. We learned every way there is to hurt another living being." She took a step toward. "We do not have armor. We do not have claws. We do not have 4 arms or wings or scales. But we learned something a long time ago." Did not back away, but his hands tightened into fists. "What did you learn?" "Everything bleeds." His voice was quiet but hard as steel. "Everything has weak points. Everything can be brought down if you know where to hit it. That is what humans learned. That is why we survived when stronger species would have died. We do not fight fair. We fight to win." Roared. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. His patience was gone. His fear was turning to rage. This human had embarrassed him. She had destroyed his reputation. She had made him look weak in front of his own fighters. He charged. His 4 massive fists swung like hammers. Each punch could crack steel. Each blow could kill a normal opponent instantly. He was the fastest in the academy, the strongest, the most skilled. No one had ever beaten him in single combat. Moved. She did not try to block. She did not try to match his strength. She wove between his punches like smoke, ducking and twisting and stepping just far enough to avoid each deadly blow. His fists passed inches from her body again and again, never connecting. Grew more furious. He swung faster, harder, using all 4 arms at once. Stayed calm. She watched his movements carefully, reading his patterns. He was powerful but predictable. He had been trained to overwhelm opponents with brute force. He had never needed to be clever because no one had ever been able to survive his attacks long enough to fight back. But was different, was human, and humans did not fight the way he expected. She saw her opening. His lower right arm swung wide, leaving his knee exposed for just a moment. She dove in and struck. Her fist connected with the joint, hitting the spot where his armor plates were thinnest. Grunted. She struck again, and again. 3 rapid hits to the same spot. His leg buckled. For the first time in his life, fell to one knee. Did not give him time to recover. She jumped, using his bent knee as a stepping stone. She launched herself upward, grabbing his collar to pull herself higher. Before he could react, she wrapped her legs around his thick neck and squeezed. Thrashed. He reached up with all 4 arms, trying to grab her, trying to pull her off. But her position was perfect. She had locked her ankles together, and her thighs pressed against the arteries on either side of his neck. She was cutting off the blood to his brain. He slammed backward into the wall, trying to crush her. She held on. He staggered forward and dropped to his knees. She held on. His movements grew weaker. His vision darkened at the edges. "Yield," commanded. Her voice was strained from the effort, but her grip did not loosen. "Yield and this ends." 10 seconds passed, 20. Arms fell to his sides. His eyes began to close. Then, with the last of his strength, he raised one massive hand and slapped the ground twice. The universal sign of surrender. released him immediately. She dropped to the floor and stepped back, watching carefully as collapsed forward onto his hands and knees. He gasped for air, his whole body shaking. Behind the pillar, Lyra's mandibles clicked rapidly. Her eyes were huge. She had just witnessed the impossible. The undefeated champion of the academy had been beaten by a human half his size. Stood in the middle of the corridor, surrounded by fallen enemies. She was tired, her muscles burned, her heart pounded in her chest, but she did not show it. She kept her face calm and her back straight. In the shadows above, a small red light blinked. A surveillance drone had recorded everything. By morning, the whole academy would know what happened here tonight. The human had won. The corridor was silent except for the groaning of the fallen enforcers. Stood among them, her breathing slowly returning to normal, remained on his hands and knees, still trying to understand what had just happened to him. His pride was shattered. His reputation was destroyed. For 12 cycles, he had been the undefeated champion. Now he had been choked unconscious by a creature half his size. Lyra emerged from behind the pillar. She moved slowly, as if she was afraid the scene before her would change if she got too close. Her antennae trembled with shock. She whispered, How did you do that?" Looked at her friend. "I told you, humans learned to fight a long time ago." But they were the Iron Circle, has never lost, never in his entire life. Everyone loses eventually. Walked over to her water container and picked it up. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she did not let Lyra see. The fight had taken more out of her than she wanted to admit. "We should go. The surveillance drones recorded everything. Soon, others will come." Lyra nodded quickly. Together, they stepped over the groaning bodies and made their way back to Dormitory 9. Behind them, slowly climbed to his feet. His red eyes followed until she disappeared around the corner. There was something new in those eyes now, something that had never been there before. Respect. By morning, the video had spread through the entire academy. Every cadet, every instructor, every officer had seen it. The human female defeating 7 of the Iron Circle's best fighters. The human female choking out the undefeated champion until he surrendered. The human female asking with perfect calm, "Do you all want this fight?" That question became famous. Cadets repeated it to each other in whispers. Some thought it was a joke, others thought it was a threat, but everyone remembered it. Arrived at the training hall that morning expecting the usual treatment. The cold stares, the whispered insults, the shoves in the corridors, but something had changed. When she walked through the doors, cadets moved out of her way. Some of them even bowed their heads slightly as she passed. She took her usual place in the back of the hall and began her warm-up exercises. A group of nearby watched her carefully. One of them, a female with bright green scales, approached slowly. "Human," she said. Her voice was cautious but not hostile. "The video, was it real?" Continued stretching. "It was real." How did you beat them?" "I learned to fight from a very young age. On my planet, we did not have the luxury of peace." The female was silent for a moment. Then she did something unexpected. She sat down next to and began stretching too. "My name is Cora," she said. "I would like to train with you if you will allow it." Looked at her. In 3 weeks at the academy, no one had asked to train with her. No one had wanted to be seen near the weak human. Now everything was different. "You may train with me," said, "but I will not make it easy for you." Cora showed her teeth in what might have been a smile. "I do not want easy." Word continued to spread throughout the day. More cadets approached. Some wanted to train with her. Others just wanted to ask questions about humans, about Earth, about how such a small species had survived in a dangerous galaxy. Answered when she could and deflected when she could not. She was not interested in becoming famous. She was interested in becoming strong. In the afternoon, a message arrived on her personal device. Commander Tal wanted to see her in his office immediately. The commander's office was at the top of the academy's central tower. Took the elevator alone, watching the floors pass by through the transparent walls. When she arrived, the door slid open automatically. Commander Tal sat behind a large desk made of black metal, his 6 eyes focused on her as she entered. "Cadet," he said, "please sit." She sat in the chair across from him. It was too big for her, clearly designed for larger species. Her feet did not touch the floor. "I have reviewed the footage from last night," Tal continued. "You were attacked by 8 members of the Iron Circle. You defeated 7 of them in combat and forced their leader to surrender. Is this correct?" "Yes, Commander." "The Iron Circle has been a problem at this academy for many cycles. They use violence and intimidation to control other cadets. Previous commanders have tried to break their power but failed. The members are too skilled, too well-connected. Many of them come from powerful families in the Galactic Senate." Tal paused. "You have done in one night what we could not do in 12 years." Said nothing. She was not sure if she was being praised or punished. "You have disrupted the entire power structure of this academy," Tal said. His voice was hard to read. All 6 eyes stared at her without blinking. "Many of the species here believed humans were weak, fragile, unworthy of being called warriors. Your victory has challenged that belief." "I only defended myself," replied. "They attacked me first." "I know, the footage is clear. You gave them every chance to walk away. You even warned them before the fight began." Tal leaned back in his chair. "That is what interests me most. You knew you could beat them. You were confident from the beginning, yet you still gave them the option to leave." "It was not mercy," said quietly. "I wanted them to understand. When I hurt them, I wanted them to know they had chosen it. I wanted them to remember that they could have walked away, and they did not." Tal was silent for a long moment. Then he made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Humans, you are a strange species, small bodies, soft skin, no natural weapons. Yet you survived the great darkness when dozens of stronger species did not. You crossed the stars when your technology was barely capable of leaving your own atmosphere. And now you have defeated the best fighters in my academy." He stood and walked to the window. Outside, ships flew past in the endless darkness of space. "I have served in the galactic military for over 200 years," he said. "I have fought alongside 100 different species. I have seen empires rise and fall, and I have learned one thing." He turned to face her. "The most dangerous beings in the galaxy are not the ones with the biggest claws or the thickest armor. They are the ones who refuse to accept defeat, the ones who will get up no matter how many times they are knocked down." Met his gaze without flinching. "Humans have a saying, Commander. It goes, knock down 7 times, stand up 8. Tal nodded slowly. "Then perhaps we have underestimated your species for too long." He returned to his desk and picked up a small data chip. "This is an assignment to new quarters, officer candidate housing, private room, better food, access to advanced training facilities. You have earned it." Took the chip and looked at it. Officer candidate housing. It was what every cadet dreamed of, the best of everything. But she thought of Lyra waiting alone in Dormitory 9. She thought of the other cadets there, the ones who had been labeled weak and worthless. "Thank you, Commander," she said, "but I must decline." All 6 of Tal's eyes blinked at once. "Decline? Why?" "Dormitory 9 is my home now. The cadets there need someone who believes in them. If I leave, they will think I abandoned them. They will think that when you become strong, you forget the weak." Stood. "I am not that kind of person." Tal studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded again, more deeply this time. "Very well, cadet, return to your dormitory, but know this, you have my respect, and the respect of this academy." Bowed slightly and left the office. As she walked back through the corridors, she felt something strange. Eyes were on her, but they were not hostile. Cadets stepped aside not from fear, but from recognition. Some even saluted. She was no longer the weak human from the backwater planet. She was something else now. Something that made even the strongest species in the galaxy think twice. 1 week after the fight, the academy was a different place. The Iron Circle had fallen apart. Without undefeated reputation holding them together, the members scattered. Some tried to pretend they had never been part of the group. Others simply kept their heads down and focused on training. The reign of fear was over. Became something she had never wanted to be, famous. Everywhere she went, cadets pointed and whispered. Some came up to her directly, asking questions about humans, about Earth, about her fighting style. She answered patiently when she could, but she always returned to her training as quickly as possible. Fame was not her goal. Survival was. Lyra had changed too. The small who had once hidden behind pillars now walked beside with her head held high. Other cadets who used to push her around now kept their distance. Being the roommate of the human who defeated the Iron Circle had its advantages. "They are afraid of me now," Lyra said one evening as they returned to Dormitory 9. "Well, not really of me, but they are afraid of making you angry." Smiled slightly. "Use it. While they are afraid, train harder, become stronger. Someday you will not need anyone to be afraid for you." "Do you think that is possible for someone like me?" "I think anything is possible for anyone who refuses to give up." They reached their dormitory and stopped. Someone was waiting outside the door, a massive figure and armored with 4 arms hanging at his sides. Tensed, Lyra made a frightened clicking sound and stepped behind her, but did not move to attack. Instead, he stood still, his red eyes fixed on the floor. "Human," he said. His voice was quiet, nothing like the roar that had filled the corridor a week ago. Waited. Was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, he lowered his massive body until he was kneeling on the floor. His head bowed down, and for the first time he looked small, defeated. "I have fought all my life," he said. "Since I was a child, I was told I was special, the strongest of my generation, the pride of my family. I came to this academy to prove that I was the best warrior in the galaxy, and for 12 cycles I believed it was true." He paused. "Then you showed me I was wrong." Said nothing. She did not know what he wanted. "After our fight I could not sleep," continued. "I kept thinking about what you said about how humans fight, about how you learn to find weakness in everything. I realized something. I have been fighting my whole life, but I never really learned to fight. I only learned to be strong, strength without skill, power without understanding." He looked up at her. His red eyes were different now. The arrogance was gone. "Teach me." Lyra made a surprised sound. "Teach you? You tried to hurt her. You wanted to make an example of her." "I know." His voice was heavy with shame. "And I was wrong. I was blind and foolish and cruel. I cannot take back what I did, but I can try to become better." He looked at with something close to desperation. "Please, teach me how you fight. Teach me how to be a real warrior." Studied the kneeling before her. A week ago he had wanted to destroy her. He had gathered his strongest fighters and ambushed her in a dark corridor. He had called her prey. Now he was begging for her help. She thought about. Her brother had fought to protect her until his last breath. He had never asked for anything in return. He had simply believed that strength should be used to help others, not to hurt them. "Stand up," said. Rose slowly. He towered over her, but somehow she seemed like the larger one. "I will teach you," she said, "but understand this. My way is hard. I will not be gentle. I will not go easy on you because you are strong or because you used to be champion. You will fall. You will fail. You will want to quit, and if you do quit, I will not ask you to come back." Nodded. "I understand." "Good. Training begins tomorrow at dawn. Do not be late." As walked past him into the dormitory, she saw something over his shoulder. More figures were approaching through the corridor. Cadets from different species, different backgrounds. Some she recognized from the training hall. Others she had never seen before. They stopped a respectful distance away and waited. "What do they want?" asked. Turned to look at them, then turned back. "They want the same thing I want, to learn from you." Looked at the crowd. There were at least 20 of them, and in species she did not even know the names of. all of them watching her with hope in their eyes. "I am just one person," she said quietly. "One person who changed everything," replied. "You showed them that size does not determine strength. That power is not the same as skill. They want to learn what you know." Was quiet for a long moment. She had come to this academy to become a soldier, to learn how to fight back against the enemies who had killed her brother. She had not planned to become a teacher, a leader, a symbol. But sometimes plans changed. "Fine," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Those who want to train with me may join, but understand the rules. First, no ranks. Here you are all equal. It does not matter what species you are or who your family is. Second, you will train harder than you ever have before. I will push you until you break, and then I will push you more. Third, you will respect each other. If I see anyone bullying anyone else, they are out. No exceptions." She paused and looked across the gathered cadets. They were listening carefully. Some nodded, others simply stood. "There is one more rule," continued. "The most important one." She stepped forward and her voice dropped to something hard and sharp. "We do not fight to show off. We do not fight to prove we are better than others. We fight to protect. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. If you cannot accept this, leave now." No one moved. Nodded slowly. "Good, then we start tomorrow, dawn, training ground 7, be there." The crowd began to disperse, murmuring among themselves. Watched them go. Beside her, Lyra's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You just created your own faction," Lyra said. "You know that, right? You just became exactly what the Iron Circle was." "No," shook her head. "The Iron Circle ruled through fear. They took what they wanted and crushed anyone who stood in their way. What I am building is different. This is a family, people who fight for each other, not against each other." She looked at her small friend. "Would you like to join?" Lyra's eyes widened. "Me, but I am not a fighter, I am weak." Smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm and gentle. "Everyone is weak until they become strong. I will help you if you want." Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then her antennae stopped trembling. She stood a little taller. "Yes," she said, "I want." That night sat alone by the window of her room. The twin moons hung in the black sky, just as they had on her first night at the academy, but everything else had changed. She thought about Earth, about her home, about her brother, about all the people she had lost. She thought about the long journey that had brought her here, to this strange place among the stars. She had come to learn how to fight. She had ended up teaching others instead. But maybe, she realized, that was the most human thing of all. Humans had survived not because they were the strongest or the fastest or the most deadly. They had survived because they helped each other, because they passed on what they learned. Because when one human fell, another picked up their weapon and kept fighting. Tomorrow, she would begin training her new students. She would teach them everything she knew. And someday, when she was gone, they would teach others. That was how humanity had always survived. And that was how they would conquer the stars.